Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna, devotees, welcome to the Sunday morning Srīmad Bhāgavatam discussion. So we are reading from Canto 1, chapter number 14, and yesterday we covered till verse number 10, and today we're going to start from verse number 11. So if you can repeat after me. Urvakshi bahavo mayam Sfuranti anga punaha punaha Vepatuschapi hridaye Aradasyanti vipriyam Urvakshi bahavo mayam Sfurantyanga punaha punaha Vepataschapi hridaye Aradasyanti vipriyam Urvakshi bahavo mayam Sfurantyanga punaha punaha Vepataschapi hridaye Aradasyanti vipriyam. Uru, thighs. Akshi, eyes. Bhāgavata, the arms. Mahyam, in my. Spuranti, quivering. Anga, left side of the body. Punaha punaha, again and again. Vepatuhu, palpitations. Cha, also. Api, certainly. Hridaye, in the heart. Arat, due to fear. Dasyanti, indicating. Vipriyam, undesirables. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanavrand, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the left side of my body, my thighs, arms and eyes are all quivering again and again. I am having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings. I'll repeat. The left side of my body, my thighs, arms and eyes are all quivering again and again. I'm having heart palpitations due to fear, and all this indicates undesirable happenings. Purport: material existence is full of undesirables. Things we do not want are forced upon us by some superior energy, and we do not see that these undesirables are under the grip of the three modes of material nature. When a man's eyes, arms and thighs all quiver constantly, one must know that something is going to happen which is undesirable. These undesirables are compared to fire in a forest. No one goes into the forest to set fires, but fires automatically take place in the forest, creating inconceivable calamities for the living beings of the forest. Such a fire cannot be extinguished by any human efforts. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends cloud to pour water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities. So, we just did verse 11. We're also gonna maybe recite the verses 12 to 21 because they are very, very similar theme. It's around the symptoms that Maharaj Yudhishthira is observing. So maybe we can recite those verses together. So maybe we can recite together, and I can do the word-to-word translation in the English translation. So let's recite together the Sanskrit. Verse number 12. Shive sodyantam adityam aviroti analanana. Let's do it together. Let's do it. Shiva sodyantam adityam aviroti analanana. Mamanga shravameyuyam avire bhaktya viruva. Shiva, jackal. Esha, this. Udyantam, rising. Adityam, unto the sun. Abhi, towards. Rauti, crying. Anala, fire. Anana, face. Mam, unto me. Anga, O Bhima. Sharameya, dog. Ayam, this. Abhire bhati, bark towards. Abhiruvat, without fear. Translation. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. Purport. There are some bad omens indicating something undesirables in the near future. Let's recite verse number 13 together. Shashta kurvanti mam savyam dakshinam pashavopare vahamscha purusha vyagra lakshaye rudato mama. Shashtaha, useful animals like the cow. Kurvanti, are keeping. Mam, me. Savyam, on the left. Dakshinam, circumambulating. Pashavaha, apare. Other lower animals like asses. Vahan, the horses, carriers. Cha, also. Purusha vyagraha, O tiger among men. Lakshaye, I see. Rudadaha, weeping. Mama, of mine. Translation. O Bhimsen, tiger amongst men. Now, useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and the lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. Text 14. Mrityuduta kapotoyam ulukah kampayan manaha pratyulukascha kuhuvaner vishvam vaishunyam ichitaha. Mrityu, death. Dutaha, messenger of. Kapotaha, pigeon. Ayam, this. Lukaha, owl. Kampayan, trembling. Manaha, mind. Pratyulukaha, the rivals of owls, crows. Cha, and. Kuhuvane, shrieking scream. Vishvam, the cosmos. Where, either. Shunyam, void. Ichataha, wishing. Translation. Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owls and their rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the whole universe. Text 15. Dhumra disha paridhaya kampate buhu sahadribihi nirgatascha mahamstata shakam cha stana yitnubhi. Dhumraha, smoky. Dishaha, all directions. Paridhaya, encirclement. Kampate, throbbling. Buhu, the earth. Saha adribihi, along with the hills and mountains. Nirgataha, bolt from the blue. Cha, also. Mahan, very great. Ata, O Bhima. Shakam, with. Cha, also. Stana Yitnubihi, thundering sound without any cloud. Translation. Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue. Text 16. Vayur vapi khara sparsho rajasa visrajam stamaha asrik varshanti jalada vibhatsam iva sarvatah. Vayu, wind. Vati, blowing. Khara sparshah, sharply. Rajasa, by the dust. Visrajan, creating. Tamaha, darkness. Asrik, blood. Varshanti, are raining. Jaladaha, the clouds. Vibhatsam, disastrous. Iva, like. Sarvataha, everywhere. Translation. The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. Text 17. Suryam hata prabham pashya graha mardam yito divi sasankuler bhuta ganer jvalite iva rodasi. Suryam, the sun. Hata prabham, its rays declining. Pashya, just see. Graha mridam, clashes of the stars. Mitaha, among one another. Divi, in the sky. Sa sankulahe, being mixed with. Bhuta ganahe, by the living entities. Jvalite, being ignited. Iva, as if. Rodasi, crying. Translation. The rays of the sun are declining and the stars appear to be fighting amongst themselves. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Text 18. Nadyo nadascha shubitaha sharamshi cha manamsi cha na jvalati agnir agneya Kalo yam kim vidhasyati. Nadyaha, rivers. Nada cha, nadaha cha, and the tributaries. Shubhitaha, all perturbed. Saramsi, reservoir of water. Cha, and manamsi, the mind. Cha, also. Na, does not. Jvalati, ignite. Agnihi, fire. Ajyena, with the help of butter. Kalaha, the time. Ayam, extraordinary it is. Kim, what? Vidhasyati, going to happen. Translation. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mines are all perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? Text 19. Na pibanti stanam vatsa, na duyanti cha mataraha, rudanti ashru mukha gavo, na rishyanti rishabhavraje. Na, does not. Pibanti, suck. Stanam, breast. Vatsaha, the calves. Na, do not. Duyanti, allow milking. Cha, also. Mataraha, the cows. Rudanti, crying. Ashru mukha, with a tearful face. Gavaha, the cows. Na, do not. Rishyanti, take pleasure. Rishabhaha, the bulls. Raje, in the pasturing ground. Translation. The calves do not suck the teats of the cows, nor do the cows give milk. They are standing, crying, tears in their eyes, and bulls take no pleasure in pasturing grounds. Text 20. Devatani rudanti va svidanti ucchalanti cha ime jana padagramaha Purodhyana karashramaha Brashta Sriyo Nirananda Kim Agam Darshayanti Naha. Daivatani, the deities in the temple, Rudanti, seem to be crying. Iva, like that. Svidyanti, perspiring. He, certainly. Uchalanti, as if going out. Cha, also. Ime, these. Janapadaha, cities. Gramaha, villages. Pura, towns. Udayana, gardens. Akara, mines. Ashramaha, hermitages, etc. Brasta, devoid of. Shriya, beauty. Niranandaha, bereft of all happiness. Kim, what sort of? Agam, calamities. Darshayanti, shall manifest. Na, to us. Translation. The deities seem to be crying in the temple, lamenting and perspiring. They seem about to leave. All the cities, villages, towns, gardens, mines and hermitages are now devoid of beauty and bereft of all happiness. I do not know what sort of calamities are now awaiting us. Text 21. Manyeter mahapate nunam bhagavata padahe ananya purusha sribhir hina burhata shobhaka. Manye, I take it for granted. Etahe, by all these. Maha, great. Utpatahe, upsurges. Nunam, for what? For want of. Bhagavata, of the personality of Godhead. Padahe, of the Supreme Personality. Shribhihi, by the auspicious signs. Hina, dispossessed. Buhu, the earth. Hata Saubhaga, without the fortune. Translation. I think that all these earthly disturbances indicate some greater loss to the good fortune of the world. The world was fortunate to have been marked with the footprints of the lotus feet of Lord. These signs indicate that this will no longer be. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lagita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees. Good to see you all. So, we're discussing from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14. And today we discussed verses 11 to 21. So firstly, I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas who are here and also who are watching online before we start discussion. So this is a very interesting and heavy part of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. So in the previous chapter we just read how Vidura came and got Dhritarashtra and Gandhari out of their illusion. And then Dhritarashtra and Gandhari decided to leave the palace and head towards their next destination. And they started to do meditation and eventually they left their body. So then what we heard at the start of this chapter that Arjuna actually left for Dwarka to meet Kṛṣṇa. So one may think, why he is going there. But if you look at the, chronology of events, so Arjuna very well knew that Gandhari gave that curse to Kṛṣṇa, that just how all my sons were killed in front of my eyes, your dynasty will also be killed in front of your eyes. So, Arjuna sensed that something could be happening, so he immediately left for Dwarka. He felt like it. But now what's happening is Arjuna has left for Dwarka and he has not returned back for 7 months. And this is making Maharaj Yudhishthira really, very, very anxious on what's happening. So Yudhishthira Maharaj naturally starts to worry about the situation. And on top of that, he's seen all these omens that we have just read in these verses. And these omens are giving him some sense that the direction of time is changing. Something major is about to happen or has already happened. So basically what we are hearing is, as we kind of in the theme of the verses is, basically this is the change of the yuga. This is the onset of Kali Yuga, and that's the symptoms what Maharaj Yudhishthira is observing. So Yudhishthira Maharaj starts to observe that firstly that there is disruption in the seasons, So seasons basically, we can see that this is again just a characteristic of Kali Yuga that we also observe these days all the time. So all of these characteristics were earlier not present in the previous Yuga. But they are now prevalent all the time. So just starting with the disruptions of the season, personally, for people who are born in India, we know that earlier the monsoon has a certain pattern. They used to come around mid-June and finish around mid-September. But in the last 10 or 15 years, what we are seeing is that pattern is being broken all the time. Like sometimes it even rains in October as well. Even winters, like in North India, winter used to start, after the Deepavali festival, it used to start getting colder. But now, like when we go to India, like first half of December is still okay. Only after 15th of December, it starts to kick in, and maybe more severely even towards the end of December. So we see how the weather patterns change so much in Kali Yuga. But why Yudhishthira Maharaj is astonished? Because this never used to happen back in Dwapara Yuga, and now he's seen all these patterns. So, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj also observes that the people are becoming greedy, they are becoming angry, and they are becoming deceitful. So, one may think, what fuss Yudhishthira Maharaj is making about all this? We see this all the time. What's new about that? So, in today's age, we see a lot of people having these qualities. Of course, not all. But Yudhishthira Maharaj is surprised because these qualities, again, were not prevalent, before this time. So today's date, we see, people are really very sensitive. They get angry very soon. You say something to someone, and if it's challenging their identity or their ideas, they are ready to get angry. People become very intolerant also, and people have become deceitful. Everyone wants to make fast money. So people, are becoming becoming greedy. Because, they just for money, they will try to take any path. So for example, when we were growing up, I'm not sure a lot of Indian children will relate with it, people who are born in India and brought up in India. The two options we used to were given, okay, you become either a doctor or an engineer. Or a failure. And whatever is left is, if you can't become these two, then you choose among those. So, or if people just wants to do an MBA, they want to do administration. But without regard, or some people wants to do the IT, we had the IT boom, everyone wants to become a coder, just take the advantage of the IT wave, yeah? But without even considering the start, like what one's nature is, is it one nature to be a coder or be an administrator? These days what we see is no one considers that. People just think, wherever there is money, I'm just going to pursue that direction. So that's a symptom of the people becoming greedy. then fights are happening. So, we see even fights in friends and families. So earlier, personally, I was born in a joint family culture. So we had different people of different ages, of different education level, different background, but still kind of living sustainably in a single home. And not just that, the upbringing was not just done by the parents, it was done by the grandparents, by the uncles, by the aunts, everyone. And anyone can scold you for anything and you don't even mind that. You think they are just elder to me and they can say that, it's okay. But now what we see is, majority of the world is moving towards nuclear family, if not already, they have moved. Yeah? Some of them is because of they want to make a living, but also majority of them, even if they have an opportunity to live with the family, they cannot live because no one can tolerate any other person now. Everyone is ready to have a fight because again, they have such strong sense of identity and what they think is right. No one's able to cooperate with each other. So a lot of fights are happening. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is seeing fights are happening within the Praja. And sometimes you also see, these days riots happen. You see a place, it's absolutely peaceful, and in no time, such a big amount of people will come, and they are very loud. They are violent protests. They break public property, and they disturb other people, and they cause all sorts of disturbance. And and then you see what happened. I was just here peacefully. So again, these kind of fights are so much prevalent in today's age. So Maharaj, for us it's normal because again we are born in Kali Yuga. We have seen this, and we have gradually seen this progressively getting worse. But Maharaj Yudhishthira, he's Dharmaraj. He's Dharmaraj Yudhishthira. When he was ruling, everyone is a devotee of the Lord. Nothing sort of this is happening. So that's why, and suddenly he starts seeing all these omens. Seasons have changed, people have changed, livelihoods have changed, fights are happening. So he starts worrying because another reason he starts worrying. So you see all these symptoms was one thing, but in the previous chapter, Narad Muni indicated that, hey, you don't worry about your uncle and aunt, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. So they have left their bodies and you don't worry about them. And he also kind of indicated that, and whatever Krishna's program is, it's going to manifest now. So he didn't actually explicitly advise Yudhishthira on what's going to happen, but he kind of indicated that. So now it's like Yudhishthira Maharaj is like joining the dots. Arjuna are gone for 7 months. All these omens are happening. Narad Muni also gave me an indication. What's happening? Something major is about to happen. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying to Bhima that I'm noticing all these omens, and if Krishna's lotus feet were present, this wouldn't have been possible, because again, when Krishna was present, there was, everything was peaceful. Firstly, Yudhishthira Maharaj became a king because of Krishna at the first place. So, when he was ruling, it was the most peaceful kingdom, and because he had mercy of and blessings of Sri Krishna. So when Lord's living, everyone is in a happy mood that Krishna is present among themselves. Like while they are living, they know Krishna is, even if Krishna is not physically with them, Krishna is somewhere. Just that thought made people so happy. So now he's having fear that, is it the case that actually Krishna has ended his pastimes? And that's why all this is happening. So he's starting to suspect that. So then Prabhupada also makes a very interesting point, a similar point in verse 5, which we read earlier, that it appears from the statement that all these symptoms of degraded society were unknown to the people of that time. That's why it was astonishing for them to have experienced them with the advent of Kali Yuga, or the age of quarrel. As we discussed, these symptoms were not present before, and now suddenly they are manifesting. So in today's words, out of fear, Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying that, my thighs, my arms, my eyes are quivering, my left side of body is quivering. So quivering of eyes is like twitching of eyes, like they're like incessantly blinking that you can't control. Yeah? Heart having palpitations, we might have experienced that when heart beats really, really fast and you don't know what's happening. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentions many wonderful points. But it starts with the main punchline. Material existence is full of undesirables. So material existence is full of undesirables. So desirable means something that we want, or desirable is something that is worth working for, worth living for. And undesirable is something that no one wants or is absolutely not worth living for. So Prabhupada again is not saying there are some undesirables. He's saying material existence is full of undesirables. So they are in abundant quantity also. And the good thing is, we don't have to try and find these undesirables. It's not that we have to look, oh, let me look for some bad fortune somewhere. No, they are everywhere, and we don't have to look for them. They will come and find us when the time comes. It's like a self-tracking GPS to our karma. They will come automatically. They have our location all the time. And what Srīmad Bhāgavatam says in Canto 10, verse 1458, Samāśritaye padapallavapalam mahatpadam punyayasho murarehi bhavambudivatsa padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. So, Vaikuntha is spiritual world. Yeah, and what is the meaning of Vaikuntha? Does anyone know the meaning of Vaikuntha? Abode of gods. Okay, that's can be one definition. Yes. No anxiety. Yes, very good. So Kuntha means anxiety. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. Very simple. So Vaikuntha is spiritual world which is without anxiety, and Kuntha is this material world where we are currently living. It's always full of anxiety. So why there is anxiety here? Because firstly, we have so many dangers here. And what are the main 4 dangers that we have as soon as one comes to the material planet? We all know that. Which is birth, death, old age, and disease. Yeah? So they are the major 4 problems of material existence. So no matter what we do, what is our mantra of life, whatever path we follow, whatever socio-economic background we come from, what kind of family we are born into, what kind of education we have, we all have to go to these 4 problems, no matter what species we are born into as well. Yeah? And on top of that, as also discussed in the previous verses, there are 3 kind of kleshas or miseries that we have to go through. So what are these 3 kleshas? Adi-atmik, Adi-bhautik, and Adi-devik. So these are the 3 kleshas, the 3 miseries that we all have to go through. So Adi-atmik are miseries arising out of one's own mind and body. Adi-bhautik are miseries that are caused due to others, other living entities. And Adi-devik are miseries which are caused by higher beings. So as we discussed, we don't have to find these miseries. They are present in abundance. And we don't have to look hard for them. They will find us. So Adhyatmic miseries, let's start with them. So Adhyatmic miseries are arising given by our own body and mind. So let's take a verse from Bhagavad Gita, verse 2.13. So we all know that. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara prapte dhiras tatra namuyati. Even if you take just one part of this verse, kaumaram yovanam. As soon as one grows from a child to a teenager, a child experiences all sorts of pains in the body. They are called growing pains. When you're becoming a teenager from a child, you get growing pains. And what to speak about Yovanam to Jara? As soon as, we are sitting here, make us sit for a few hours and suddenly start moving and, I'll start moving even in a few minutes sometimes, So, yeah, all sorts of pains with the back, with the neck, with the feet, with the knees. So you can just tick mark what all we have, Everyone has something or the other. So, and on top of that, so these are just, physical pains. Then we have, internal body functioning pains. So someone has a diabetes, someone has thyroid, someone has heart disease. So, all of us have got something or the other. Yeah, so again, did we go and find for them? Did you put an ad out there, can you please meet me? No, they came. They came by on their own accord, automatically. So this is just a material body which is a vehicle given to us, which the soul lives in. So no matter how much we try to maintain it, save it, eventually it will start fading. So it doesn't mean that we should not look after it. We should look after it because again we are using this body as an instrument to serve Krishna. So we should look after it. Prabhupada really emphasized on health as the number one thing we should look after. But even after looking after it, something fails, we should not be surprised about it. And it's okay. We just make the best use of the bad bargain. But one thing is, don't expect your body to perform 100% all the time, and it's okay that if it deteriorates. We should of course try to fix it, but eventually it will succumb. It's okay. So, but even if we tolerate the pains of the body, somehow we think, okay, pains of the body, it's a thing, but I'm able to function. It's fine. I'm able to manage. I can tolerate bodily pain. And get about all, with all my things. But then the other guy comes up, and the other guy is the main guy. It's called the mind. He will find us. And actually he's with us all the time with a commentary in the background. All the time. There is no switch off for the mind. Body you can at least sleep. Mind, sometimes you're sleeping, it takes you in different places, even goes through the dreams and everything, like the guy doesn't sleep, So, yeah, the mind continues to trouble us. So just a good example, we recently have this COVID outbreak. Now, COVID is supposed to be like a physical disease, Sometimes a virus infects you. Now, it's a physical disease. What it could maximum do? At maximum, it will give you some disease for a elongated time, discomfort, or at max, it can kill you. Yeah, that's the maximum it can do. Yeah. But what we are hearing is that due to the restrictions imposed by COVID across the world, we are seeing the most amount of depression cases, which is a mental disease. Yeah, depression cases, a lot of anxiety, and what's happening is all this anxiety is leading to depression, and depression is leading to so many other things. So mental diseases are such a big thing in the world. I met Ikshwaku Prabhu at the farm just when we took Jayabhat Maharaj there for visiting New Govardhan, and he was mentioning he's actually doing counseling of people at work, people who are going through physical issues, then what kind of mental impact it has on them, and he kind of counsels them. So that's his job. It's called Employee Assistance Program. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. My company also has it. So any problems, any physical or mental problem you're facing at work, there is a helpline for you. So it's become such a big thing. These things were not existing, 15 to 20 years ago. So why? Because people have become complicated. We have lost our simplicity. So, earlier, when a challenge used to come, people knew that, okay, yeah, it's difficult, but eventually it will be over, because it eventually gets over. We know by experience of our life. But in today's world, again, every fight or challenge becomes so intense, that we are not able to look past it. And it causes us so much anxiety at that time. So, and this is because we are having very, very high, high and unreasonable expectation. Not just from us, from others these days. And that's the reason for our anxiety. And what happens is when our expectations are not met, it leads to anxiety. So, so these are just the problems of the body and mind. Let's say someone says, what? My body is doing really okay. I go to gym 5 days a week. I do yoga. And then someone says, my mind is amazing. I do all sorts of meditation to keep my mind calm. I can survive in this world. I'm invincible. But then what happens? We are not alone in this world, unfortunately. There are other living entities out there. And we have to interact with them. Yeah? And sometimes they are envious of how we are doing, and they want to cause us trouble. And sometimes it's not that they are just envious, it's just that they want to they are looking after them, and that involves troubling you. And then they will do that. So, no matter even if you look after your body and mind, you cannot control what other people do to you, eventually, yeah? So again, like for example, your bosses will trouble you, your neighbor will trouble you. Forget everything, your own family and friends will trouble you. No one will leave you. Yeah? So even you say, that's still tolerable, other people, I can ignore everyone. I can just forgive everyone. I can look after my mind, my body, I can just ignore everyone. I can just be very tolerant. But then the big guy comes, the Adi-Devic problems, So, so Adi-Devic means they are superior forces that are coming into play, that inflict suffering. And this can happen in any which way. So we recently know about the fires in Los Angeles. They're just burning across, acres and acres of forest, and even in the civilian areas, they are actually burning houses. And even some of the richest people have their houses burned. So again, nature spares no one. Yeah. So how far are we going for Los Angeles? Even Australia, we are known for our own forest fire seasons. So I know we had a massive fire in 19 and 20. Very, very massive fires. So it's not that they have not happened before, and we don't know they are coming. Even if we know they are coming, they are so rampant that they will just, when they come, you cannot control them. They will just completely inundate everything. Yeah. So volcanoes can happen. Global warming is happening. Sea levels is rising. Tsunami is happening. Earthquake is happening everywhere. Yeah. For example, when there was an earthquake in Indonesia, what happens is there are tectonic plates in the earth. They move when the earthquake comes, and the move comes, so the level changes and the water starts to move. And the water starts to move because of that, and it creates a tsunami. And when a tsunami happens, 1,000 people get killed in Chennai, which is thousands of miles away from this earthquake. Had no direct connection to that land, but still, a tsunami can kill people thousands of miles away. So, Prabhupada then says, that's why Prabhupada says this, material life is full of undesirables. Yeah? No one wants birth, death, old age and disease. Who wants, I'm saying, Adi Bhautik, give me some Adi Bhautik, give me some Adi Devic. No one's saying that. But they come on their own accord. And when these things happen, actually, they help us, remind us that how insignificant we are. How insignificant we are in terms of our bodily and material existence. All of us, can be wiped out in a second if the nature has its own way. Yeah. So just a few years back, we know the fires in Australia. We cannot imagine how much area it burned. So this property is 8 acres overall. Out of this 8 acre, I think we are only using 1 acre at the moment. Because the remaining is covered under the forest area, the trees. 1 acre, still a decently big land, 4,000 square meters. Yeah, we're doing all sorts of big festivals, such a big land. So that's just 1 acre what we are using in this temple property. Yeah. So the amount of land that got burned in the last Australian forest is around 59 million acres. 59 million acres is roughly the size of United Kingdom. That amount of forest got burned. And 3 billion animals either got burned or displaced. So we see all these, Western countries, including Australia, they have all sorts of protection for kangaroos and koalas, and they do so much to protect, there is Great Barrier Reef to protect the biodiversity. They put so much, planning and restrictions and rules and regulations around constructions, everything. And suddenly, Adi-Devic events happen and just, does all this impact. Yeah? So how significant are we? How significant is our actually planning? That doesn't mean we should not plan, but what I'm saying is we should still understand that the material nature is much powerful. So, US has this in California, in hurricanes and typhoons. And when these happen, when these fires happen, no amount of water actually can extinguish it. It's not that they don't have technology. They have the best technology in the world. No matter of water pouring through airplanes will protect it. Nothing. They are like just drops. in the ocean of fire that they are trying to extinguish. So we cannot control these situations. But what happens is whenever these things happen, Lord gives us signals. The nature gives us signals. So for example, Maharaj Yudhishthira saying, the left of his side of his body is quivering, So similarly, when earthquakes are happen, we'll see, just before the earthquakes, the animals and the birds in that area, they will start behaving very strangely. They will making, different, very, very weird noises. And you think, what happens to them? So, because they have this ability to know what's about to happen. Yeah? Some of them even start behaving strangely even months before the event. Yeah? And, we see ants, they move. The mouse, they also know, they also move. Dog starts barking. Birds are able to recognize earthquakes. It's all documented. Yeah? So, even with all this human advancement that we have had, still we have not been able to predict the earthquake, even now. Yeah? So even if you consider ourselves the most important race, the top of the food chain, still animals have far more cognitive abilities than what we have. Yeah? They have, or we can say, kind of a sixth sense, that they can assess what's happening. When danger is coming, they can assess very quickly. They have far better instincts than us. Yeah? So even if, what happens is, even if scientists are able to predict, eventually, let's say they bring an instrument, like for example, they have become better in predicting weather forecasts, better, some hurricanes and typhoons, they can predict. But what can they do? If a hurricane or a typhoon is coming, it will just blow the house away. You cannot protect that. They cannot do anything about it. So even if we know, you cannot protect against all these miseries. So, but Lord gives us indications, So the signs mentioned in this verse, all these verses that we discussed, they are the indications that it's basically Maharaj Yudhishthira is noticing. So these are not superstitions, as some of the people want to, label them. Oh, these are the superstitions. Don't bother about them. So something's happening. We should try to see, what's happening around. Similarly, our body also gives us sign. Our body also responds. It also gives us sign. So when we are about to fall down, it sometimes becomes dizzy first. So that means the body is giving sign, we are about to fall down. So that means the intelligence should be hold something up, either sit down or lie down. But what if someone says, nah, I'm not going to fall down when it's dizzy? They will eventually fall down. So when body gives signs, we should act to it. It's, it says, when if you're working out, if you feel something about in your back, don't do it. Don't do it. That means your body is giving you signs that you can't do it. Of course, we should look after our body, but yeah, we should be more aware when the body is giving signs, when the nature is giving us signs. So even if you're having fever, you automatically lose all the energy and feel sleepy. So you see, oh my God, I'm feeling fever, I'm sleepy. I wish I could wake up and do all the things that I wanted to do, in the flu season. Like I had work to do, I had personal things to do. But body is trying to protect us. Firstly, through sleep, we are recovering our energy. And also, we are not wasting our further energy doing other stuff. So again, body has a way to, look after us. But we have sometimes our own ideas. So what's happening is, we are no more conscious these days. We don't read the symptoms of the body, the mind, the nature is giving us. So just like we go to an Ayurvedic doctor, we think we are okay. He reads our pulse and says, what is going to just do by reading our pulse? And then he just draws all this big paper. You've got this problem in liver, you've got this problem in heart, this problem in blood, and he'll give you the whole diagnosis. Similarly, and a doctor, gets you to put your tongue down and looks at the back of it to notice symptoms. So it's like they have got training to do this. So we all had this kind of training before, but we are losing that training in time, again, to read symptoms of our body, our mind, and also our spiritual life also. So then Prabhupada also, the forest fires of material existence, we have to learn that they are full of undesirables. So Prabhupada also then, so he highlights the problem, is giving the solution in the purport also. So he's saying, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, the fire of this material existence can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends clouds to pour the water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. So, all these forest fires, in Australia, how did they eventually extinguish? Did the firefighters were able to extinguish it? No. Eventually, it's through the rain, which was sent by the Lord. So, if the forest is very dry and the wind is blowing, no amount of measure can stop the fire from expanding. It will spread. It will spread because it's dry, it's windy, it's going to spread. But if the rain happens and it becomes wet, then it cannot spread. Yeah. Similarly, undesirable things in our life also cannot be checked, cannot be stopped by any amount of our own plans, material plans. For example, I've got this problem, I'll just go to a doctor, it will go away, or go to a financial planner, it will go away. Some problems will come, no matter what we do. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities. I'll repeat. The miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities. So this is what we sing every morning. Samsara dava naravida loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam. So the spiritual master is receiving benedictions from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master, who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. So this is the very first prayer we sing in the morning. Very first prayer, imagine it. This is the first thing that Prabhupada has suggested us to do. Do Mangalarati, sing Samsara. And that's the very first verse of that prayer. Straight away recognizing that we are in this material, forest fire of this material existence, and the faith that the spiritual master, like cloud, can put rain over this fire and extinguish it. So again, helping us surrender to our spiritual master. So when we are in a fire, can we save us? Can we save ourselves? We cannot. So we need a person who can help us help save us. So just for example, sometimes when we see a person, he's completely healthy, he's got no problem. And this is happening a lot today in today's world. Everyone's really healthy, everyone's working out, good healthy diet, good work-life balance, and suddenly a heart attack comes and the person dies very young. We've seen this a lot. And on the contrary, someone's gone through an immense amount of accidents or diseases or critical conditions, but somehow or the other, by the mercy of the Lord, they are able to continue for long. Yeah? So what is telling us? Just by our efforts, we cannot spread ourselves. We definitely need the mercy of the Lord. And how is Lord expressing his mercy? By sending his bona fide representative to help us get us out of this material existence. So, whatever good or bad is happening in our life, we should just accept it as the will of the Lord. Because it's not because I do this is happening, it's also because it's sanctioned by the Lord. If Lord sanction is, we just accept it. So, if a person is dying early, we just accept it. If a person is dying late, we should also accept it. And serve the Lord, whatever situation we are in. So, who can get us actually out of this material existence? It's the spiritual master. He can, like cloud, pour water over the forest of our material existence. So, by mercy of His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, we all are trying to get out of this material existence through this process of bhakti that Srila Prabhupada has introduced to us. So, he's like this transcendental firefighter. Srila Prabhupada and all the spiritual masters, they are like transcendental firefighters, They are fighting against Maya, and they're still fighting against Maya to get us out of here. They are protecting us from a lot of other things which people not following this path go through their instructions. So, but then, if someone's coming us to save from a fire, we also have a duty. What's that duty? Sorry, Mataji?
To let them do it.
To let them do it, absolutely. Just not use your brain, just let them do it, follow their instructions. They say, get out, you get out. So that's what Prabhupada is saying in all his books, he's saying in all his lectures, in each and every purport, get out. And what we have to just do is follow the advice of the firefighter, because he knows, we don't know. We don't know what's the other side, but we just follow the advice of the firefighter. So Prabhupada similarly is giving us his instructions. So let's all follow Prabhupada's books and lectures and take an exit route. We see the exit signs there. So Prabhupada is showing these exit signs through his books. The two biggest signs are Srīmad Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Let's exit through that. Hare Krishna. So that's all what I plan to speak on these verses. So just wanted to ask if anyone has any questions, any comments, or any corrections. Mataji.
Talking about anxiety, often, say some problem happens at work, I get anxiety, and I struggle to take shelter in a holy name because I'm so overwhelmed. It's a lack of faith, lack of determination, what is it and how to change it?
Yes, that's very good question, Mataji. So the way I deal it in my personal life, I can just speak on that, is whenever I'm getting anxiety at work, and sometimes, situation happens, we get so involved at that present moment that it appears like a mountain. So it sometimes doesn't come straight away, but with time, when we are chanting or we are reading, what comes out, and you can see an objective view. Just look at it as a third person, like me involved in the situation, and then just realize, okay, this is me, this is work. Okay, this is important, but this work is a very small part of my life. It's important, and I'm going to give it my best. But what happens as an outcome of that doesn't determine what's going to happen in my life. This is how I objectively see it. But again, that helps me actually become detached from the situation and actually even attempt the situation better. Because now, I'm seeing that I'm not attached to the result. It may go pear-shaped, but I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do my action. And then, karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Leave the results to Krishna. So that perspective really helps me, but I do understand that it sometimes doesn't come straight away, and it takes either self-chanting or someone noticing us, like family, that why are you stressed, and you share it with someone, and then actually they can give you perspective. As we said, when we are in the fire, we cannot get ourselves out. So another benefit could be share that with a well-wisher. So it's not that we don't know this, we all know this, but sometimes when we are in the situation, it's difficult to access that knowledge because we are so overwhelmed. Just like Arjuna, pure devotee of the Lord. But when Lord puts him in anxiety, he's asking, and he's saying, why Arjuna is asking me such questions? He's a pure devotee of the Lord. Of course, it's a transcendental arrangement, but it applies to us also. When we are in anxiety, sometimes we also need help of a devotee well-wisher. Does that help, Mataji?
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Mataji.
You mentioned that the healthy person will get a heart attack and he will die.
Might.
Yeah, no, it's
Not
like, yeah, that's what is happening. I have seen it.
The jinns will start suing me, Mataji.
Then you said that whoever is got into accident and they still survive for a longer period of time because of mercy of the Lord. So that's the mercy, the person who is dying with heart attack, it is the mercy because he might have done his duties and he must be very pious and he must be going to Krishna. So it's like...
Yeah, good question, Mataji. So, if I understand this correctly, you're saying if someone, young really dies, but they're doing their duty, is that mercy?
Yeah.
Or the other way around, if someone's, just extending their life.
Like he may be having a lot of
Issues, yeah, and then he survives.
Yeah.
So, my view is, Mataji, whatever is sanctioned is Lord's mercy. So if that person is dying, that's mercy, because Lord has the perfect antidote of what's needed for us to progress in our life. So when the karma is there, there's a reaction that's sanctioned. Sometimes manifesting of that, is also is also progress, because as you know, we don't die. We just move, we just change bodies, yeah? So, in one sense, everything that Lord does is bhadram, it's always auspicious. Of course, then from material side of things, we consider that this event is inauspicious and that event is auspicious, yeah? On a similar note, I heard this from, if I remember correctly, from Prahalananda Maharaj in one of the classes he came a few years back, and someone asked him a direct question, is it worth saving someone who's, like someone's dying and this and that and they're not devotee, is it good if they get saved? So, they said, someone's dying, like should we really be worried about them and saving them? And he gave this very, very, like a black and white answer to that, and that really stuck with me, that's why. He said, okay, is he a devotee of the Lord? Is he going to be cultivating Krishna consciousness in his life? He said, if the answer is yes, he should live. And if the answer is no, it doesn't matter if he lives or not. That's a very, because the point he was coming from was, if he's not Krishna conscious and he's doing a dharmic activity, he's going to anyway continue to do those activities. And then even accumulate more bad karmas that going to be even trouble him more. So again, perspective. From what perspective are we looking? That doesn't mean that we should pray for other people to die. That means, firstly, we have to have faith in the Lord. Whatever Lord does is the right thing, because everything is sanctioned by the Lord. Yeah?
Narad Muni tells a story in Bhāgavatam. He visits a kingdom and he sees a butcher, a brahmachari, a sannyasi and a prince. And then to the prince he says, you must die immediately. To the brahmachari he says, whether you die or not,
Prince live.
Prince live forever. Yeah. So four ways. The butcher he says, you must die immediately. Yeah. And he says, whether you die or live, doesn't matter. And
there is a devotee, there is a brahmachari, there is a butcher, and there is a prince. So the prince, he says, Chiranjeevi Bhava, live forever, don't die. And to the brahmachari, he says, Ma Jiva, you die. And to the devotee, he says, Jiva Va Marava, you live, it's okay, you die, it's okay. And then to the what's the name? The butcher, he says, Ma Jiva Ma Mara, that you die, it's bad for you. You live, it's bad for you.
so based on your karma, the results what you're going to get.
Yeah, but if he dies, the butcher, then he has to suffer in the...
So basically, for the butcher, because he's killing animals now, his life now is hell. And in future, because of that karma, will also be hell. For the devotee, whether he's in hell or in Lord's support, it's the same. If the devotee is Vishwa Purna Sukhayate, he is always happy. And the brahmachari is undergoing so much austerity, trouble. So in future, Lord's abode is awaiting him. So he says, you better die, because good time is awaiting, why are you suffering now? And for the prince, he says, you are engaged in sense gratification and committing sinful activities now. So if you die, you'll go to hell. So you better live forever. So the point of the whole thing is we have to accept that whatever is coming our way, it's due to our previous karmas. And so the question, we have to ask ourselves, what is the lesson for me to learn from this? And not to counteract it directly. So if we are suffering, then what is the lesson for me to learn from this? And then if we come in terms with that, then we are able to pass that test and move on. But if we fail and start complaining, grudging, then we have to go through the same test again.
Because we have failed.
Yeah, because we have failed.
It says the pain leaves you once your test is over. So pain is there for us so that we get purified, we get cultivate tolerance, and then once we have cultivated those qualities, then pain will leave us. In the material world, it is said what pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So pain everyone is going to go through, but whether we feel that is suffering or not, that's optional for us.
And just another 2 points. Yesterday, Bhagavatam Mataji gave a very nice class. Something like, if anyone missed it, you can hear it again. But she, mentioned on the point of the spiritual master being Bhāgavatam. Bhana means very condensed form of cloud, rain, so very condensed form of mist. And the second point, that the spiritual master gives us a higher purpose which we could have never thought of, that we can do that, but he gives us a higher reason to endeavor towards or aspire towards. So if we take the instructions of the spiritual master to heart, then whatever problems that we are going towards, that problem becomes insignificant.
Yeah, we can ignore just that and we can
Exactly, because we have a higher purpose that spiritual master has directed us towards.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sometimes people who say that quite good, bad things happen to good people.
So you want to respond to that, Prabhu? The question's a question? Yeah, sure, bro. So it's a pretty good analogy is given on that. So very good analogy is given on that, Prabhuji. Is like the karmas are stored just like rice in that big cylinder in the farms. You see all those big sacks where rice is stored. So if someone has done bad crops, they have got bad, they're doing farming, but the output is coming bad because they've not looked after it, or they have put bad ingredients or a bad seed, and bad crop has come out eventually. So that will be stored at the bottom. But eventually, then if they start changing their habits, they see, oh, I'm not doing the right thing, I'm going to look after my farm, I'm going to put the right seeds, I'm going to do the right cultivation, and then the good crop comes up, that stores at the top, you're going to add on the top. But when you're actually opening the tap from the bottom to get the rice, the crop out, so although you may be doing the good cropping at the moment, but what's going to first come out? Bad one. So it's like karma is not just what's happening now. The karma is accumulation of actions we have done in previous lifetimes. So what bad is coming may or may not be from this life. It could be a manifestation from previous lives. So if someone's really good, you think when bad things happen to good people, so if that means, I'm assuming, as at your present observation, that they are good or they are doing good activities, so if the bad crop will come from previous thing, but eventually because they are good in this life, that will also come. Yeah? And it's the other way around as well. Why good things happen to bad people? Because they might have cultivated good crop first in the previous life, and that's what's coming out, but eventually, what's going to happen? They're going to drain that. They're going to use it up. And then when the bad crop comes, then they will get the reaction. Does that help, Prabhu, in that analogy? Hare Krishna. So just further speaking on Prabhu's point, so that's something, a lesson we can take for ourselves, how Guru is so important. Guru Padashraya is so important, as Bhagavatam Mataji gave in yesterday's class. So if we want this pouring of this mercy, we should have a sincere desire to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, to take to the process. We cannot, without surrender, we cannot just say, oh, I want to have all the mercy, but I don't want to surrender to a guru. So we should have a sincere desire to take shelter and surrender to a guru. So if we are not chanting, we should join that Shiksha program that Prabhu, we had the Shiksha ceremony recently. of people who are doing chanting, so we should take up that process and commit to a certain amount of rounds every day that we do. Eventually, get to the 16 rounds, take that process step by step, follow 4 regulative principles, and then take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So we want a firefighter in our house, but we don't want to call him. We don't want to dial the phone, but we want the firefighter to just come by itself. That doesn't happen. You have to do something. Someone needs to call them. So we need to take that process seriously. So if we have already a spiritual master, we all need to continuously hear them and follow their instructions, because then the tap is open. Yeah. But then if we don't have a spiritual master, we should follow instructions of senior Vaishnavas and then take to the process and basically surrender to a bona fide spiritual master.
So, is it very necessary to get into the shelter of God?
Yes, Mataji. It's absolutely necessary, because we need to be connected to the parampara, to the family, for the mercy to flow in. So Prabhupada told us, for example, when my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Kadam Kana Swami Maharaj, he said, in an initiation class, he said, you have to chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regulative principles. And if you do that properly, you can go back to Godhead. Yeah? Of course, to do that properly is also, a thing that we all have to learn with time. But when he says, why? Do you know why? It's not because of me, it's because of my spiritual master. And it's not because of him, it's because of Prabhupada, Prabhupada guarantees that. It's because Prabhupada said it, that's why it's going to happen. And it's not just Prabhupada. Prabhupada is taking shelter of his spiritual master. So eventually, whatever the spiritual master is guaranteeing, it's like you are getting all the rain, but the rain is sanctioned by their guru. And their gurus, they also need rain, and their part of the water is sanctioned by their guru. And eventually, the parampara goes, and the whole water body is owned by Krishna. But it can only come through the representatives, through the disciplic succession. Yeah. So to access that mercy, we have to get connected to the process, which is taking shelter of a guru. Of course, you can go. We are the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are taking good initiation in this. There are other bona fide sampradayas as well. There is Sri Sampradaya, there is Nibarka Sampradaya, and there is what's the other one, Prabhu? Vallabha Sampradaya. The Pushti Marg Sampradaya. Rudra Sampradaya. So there are other sampradayas also where people can take shelter from, but they need to take shelter. They have to take shelter. Without a guru, there is no guarantee. Again, then we are saying without a guru that by my effort, by my buckets of water, I can extinguish the fire. That's what we exactly read, So if we need the cloud to pour, then we need to access the cloud. Yeah. So how much data a server can store? Yeah. How much data server can? Few GBs, few terabytes. But the cloud can store a. That's why all the companies are going to the cloud. Unlimited mercy. Very good question, Mataji. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone?
I have a question, just
Sure, Mataji, please.
the kids, about the kids.
Of course.
This generation, as you said, they're all brought up by the technology rather than by the society, not like India. So I have a question that at which level a mother has a role to protect them when there is a lot of resistance for them to understand, bring them to the level of spiritual consciousness. It's not at all possible. I mean, I'm not saying that not at all possible. It's really less possible in this generation. So at what level I have got my duty compared to detachment with them, or that's their karma, they have to learn it, let them go. Where there is a line where I need to decide that this is my duty and it's okay, I have done it. There's always a confusion that have I tried enough for the kids, especially teenagers.
Yes, that's a difficult question, Mataji. That's a very loaded question. I'm actually kind of exploring this question with my wife as well all the time. So I can just share whatever guidance I've got from other Vaishnavas on this subject. So very recently I asked, so firstly we do have a responsibility. So we should not be, Shastra says, Shastra is really black and white about this. So we should not be a teacher, a father or a mother or a king, parent, if we cannot take our children or our subjects, for a teacher the subject is student, for a king the subject is the praja, for the parent the subject is the child, unless we can take our subjects to go back to Godhead, to Krishna. We should not become that. So the Shastra is very clear that I do have a responsibility. There is no running away from it. Okay? So first thing is, if I want to tell something for my children to follow, I need to first imbibe that in myself. That's the first step. Otherwise, I cannot stop them from, from following it. If I'm not following it, parents are the first guru. Especially from childhood, they do learn a lot. Whatever they're trying to copy the parents, subconsciously, and actually, eventually you will see, they don't come out that different from the parents in some cases. Of course, there's so much bad influence out there as well. So, firstly, we need to get Krishna conscious ourselves. How? Of course, by coming to spiritual centers like this, getting association, following the process, taking to spiritual process, taking initiation of Guru, and then starting that journey ourselves. And then the children watch, like, this is something serious to my parents, it must be something important. So firstly, they start giving importance to that whole thing. Because you see, they don't have like India, like a lot of people are doing it. They're all their friends, none of them are doing it. Even Indians are not doing it, for example. So, firstly, we are already starting in a difficult terrain where there is not good examples out there. So we need to make sure our association is right. So we firstly should do it, and then we should make sure that association is right. So if we come to a temple every week, what they see is what my parents are doing and what they're asking me to do is normal. Because here, everyone's doing it. And then it's easy to pick that up then. But if all of their association is of people who don't have any desires to progress spiritually, only have desires to just progress materially, then that's what the mood they're gonna have. So first, start the process by ourselves, and then bring them yourself and them to the right association. Like you have got yourself to the right association today. That's really good. Eventually, you need to get children to the right association, and also we have classes on Saturdays where children are taught, on spiritual subject matters. So that's the second thing. Another thing I would say is, Prabhupada also gives some guidance around children that from 0 to 5 years we should love them. From 5 to, I'm not sure, 12 or 15, Prabhu? 13, yeah. I said teenagers before teenagers, there's teenagers, yeah. Yeah, teenage. We should discipline them. Prabhu said we should discipline them. Yeah? And after 13, we should be friends with them. Yeah? So if the children have gone already after 13, then of course we cannot discipline. Like it's difficult to discipline them at that time. Then we can only suggest them as a friend and by example. But if they're in the 5 to 13, what we are noticing, like I'm also observing that parents are no more strict with their children. Like all this information around being friends with your children at an early age, that's not what the way of living was. Because at that age, children don't have the intelligence to make the right decisions. So the fact that I'm trying to be friends with them, and if they say I want to do this bad habit, yeah, okay, do it. It's like I'm trusting their judgment. They don't have the judgment. We have more experience, so we have to discipline them. And I was just speaking. I asked this question recently to Jayadad Maharaj, and I'm happy to share that publicly. So I asked this, this different way of upbringing children in this Western countries is, saying, oh, we have to be soft with them, we have to hear them. What do you want to say about that? Like, we need to balance and do all these things. So Maharaj is very direct, as we know. So Maharaj says, yes, they are all trying to bring up children which are karmi dharmis. So like, we want follow you the dharma, but don't forget the karma. Eventually, so it's like, we want them to be jack of all trades. Don't lose out in the material world, but of course have a bit of touch of spiritual world, a bit of moral values. So that's not how it should be. The spiritual aspect has to come first. We need to understand we are spiritual beings, because the material life, eventually we know we are so insignificant. All our ideas, all our plans, all our education is so insignificant. One event can wipe us away. So we need to plan for after that. For that, spiritual life has to come at the center. Yeah? There was one more point that was coming to my mind. Yes, another thing is, what my wife said, and I totally agree with that. It's like, this around chanting of children, we should not force children to chant, And there are some views out there, and I respect those views, But my wife thinks, like, if my child is failing in grades, will I let him fail in grades? In mathematics or science, if they get a C continuously or a bad feedback from the teacher, will I let them do it, or will I discipline them and I'll work with them? I'll sit down with them and also scold them and make sure they do the right thing. I think it's the latter. We're going to work with them. We may have to discipline them as well at times to make sure that doesn't happen again. But when it comes to spiritual things, like spiritual discipline, we are relaxed. It's okay. That's just a hobby anyways. Yeah, then we want to be very nice and soft and gentle. But when it comes to material things, your child goes and wastes money, somehow. Money, we are most dear to money. But, we'll scold the hell out of the child. How did you do this? How did you do that? This is not how you do it. You should do this. You should have got from here. This is how you buy. This is you do. Because we are so attached to it. But if they do break a spiritual principle, would we be, discipline them in a similar intensity? That's something question we all have to ask ourselves. So again, first we need to bring spiritual life to center ourselves, right association, and then follow Prabhupada's guidance on how to deal with child when they are at different ages. But association one is the most important method. So if we get the right association, what you see, the first and third will automatically happen. Like we will also have, if you have the right association, we are the average of our 5 people we associate with. So if you know me, you know the 5 people I associate with. Like this guy is an average of 5 people who he associates with. So if they are karmis, I'll be just doing all the other things. But if the five people are good devotees, then that will be the average. So similarly, when we come and associate with people, we make friends with devotees, we become like them, naturally, subconsciously. And same with the children. So if you do that, you start the point number 1, which is following yourself. And the point number 3 is, you'll see how other people are dealing with their children, and then you start kind of gaining that knowledge as well. And actually what you'll realize is, when devotee children become friends, that's when it becomes the easiest. Then you don't have to do anything. Because they will just follow each other. They might even surpass you at a higher speed. I see my daughter, she knows more shlokas than I do. Because she goes to the regular education, she has association of devotees, where she is learning all these shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. She knows more shlokas, and I'm struggling to keep up with her. But I'm happy about that. So I'm not sure, Mataji, if that's answered your question. Hare Krishna.
Just on the same note,
Sure, Mataji.
yesterday I was listening to a reel, and so there's a painter, Mataji. So she asked Prabhupada, like, what should I do? Should I paint or should I be, in the spiritual life? So Prabhupada said to her, like, just take care of the top, and everything under that will be taken care of. So, like, if you have $1 million, all the $10 problems will be solved.
Absolutely.
If you take care of Krishna, everything else will be taken care of.
That's a very good point, Mataji. Actually, I'll put this as the first point. Just pray to Krishna and He'll look after everything. He'll make sure you do the right things. So that surrender to Krishna is the first thing that happens actually. If you can do that, that will be perfect. If you just surrender to Krishna and pray to Krishna about this problem, He will work out a way to get you an association of devotees and everything else will be solved. But we have to start praying. Firstly, good thing is to recognize this as a problem, which you have. All of us have. You're just brave enough to speak about it. All of us, says even devotee children have this problem, or devotee parents have these problems. So yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Just as
Yeah, that's a good point, Prabhuji. So basically, we can be tolerant with children because we know that they are behaving in a certain way because that's how what their upbringing has been or association has been. So we cannot change that. But if we start introducing Krishna consciousness on top, like start doing now, eventually it will remove everything if they do take to the process. So we should not judge them. We should not be straight away 0 to 100 strictness tomorrow. But I think the focus should be more on introducing Krishna consciousness than focusing on other things that they are, we want them to remove. Of course, that will come in time. But the first effort or our focus or intelligence should be how should I bring them in association of devotees or introduce Krishna consciousness. And then what you'll find is the process is so sublime that the other bad association or the qualities that children or anyone has got due to bad association, they will automatically go away. Good point, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay. Is there no other comments? Rantraj, oh, Mataji, sorry.
Sorry, just
Sure, of course. So, association of Guru can happen anytime. Like you can start associating with Guru now. Again, we don't have to do physical association. We can start hearing lectures of Gurus, or especially start hearing lecture of Prabhupada first, and then we can start hearing lecture of other spiritual masters as well. In terms of the formal process, it's good to have. I think we should chant at least 16 rounds before asking for shelter. If I'm not wrong, Prabhu, I think that will be the right etiquette to chant 16 rounds at least. Yes, we should at least chant 16 rounds minimum before reaching out to Guru. But then even after that, it's not that you meet a Guru and the process happens. So first we take Guru Padashraya, so taking shelter of spiritual master. Then we can ask questions and inquire. So you can see the Guru can see you, whether you know how it's working, and then you can understand like what it's like, serving the spiritual master. And then eventually, after some time, when we are steady and the relationship is going good, then the Guru will decide to give initiation or diksha. Does that answer your question, Mataji? Yeah, but you can start associating. Even Srīmad Bhāgavatam, reading Srīmad Bhāgavatam is associating with Srila Prabhupada. As long as we are hearing it and not hearing it, implementing it. Yeah? So even all the lectures we are speaking, they should, in theory, whatever the speaker is speaking, they should speak everything in line with what Srila Prabhupada has spoken. And if that's the case, associating with those devotees is also, hearing Guru's instruction. But yes, on a dedicated basis, if you do have desire to basically inquire about, which spiritual master I should eventually be aspiring for, then you can hear. There are so many these days. All the lectures are on YouTube and other places called Desire Tree, SoundCloud. So you can access them, and you can come to us as well, or Krishna Prabhu or Chaitanya Prabhu if you have to. If you want to know our specific gurus. Yeah. Okay. Kṛṣṇa Srīmad Bhāgavatam ke Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ke harekrishnatempeburbank ke Sai Gaur Premanande Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai.